Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're stepping away from the rush, from the timeline itself, and into this profound stillness of eternity.
It's a great way to put it.
Our subject is Sailor Pluto. She's a character often described in the sources as a whisper in the fabric of time. And she is, I think, truly one of the most symbolically layered figures we've ever looked at.
Oh, absolutely. It's an exceptionally rich study. The sources really treat her less like a character and more like a walking paradox.
A paradox, yeah.
We're dealing with a being who isn't a warrior in the way we usually think of one. She's more of a cosmic law, a soul that's defined entirely by these profound restrictions, by silence, and ultimately by this overwhelming sacrifice.
Exactly. And the stack of research we have, it explores her as this synthesis of so many things. You have classical mythology, deep astronomical influences, cosmic law, and then this really painful, very human emotion. So our mission today is, it's a heavy one. We need to try and understand what it means to be the guardian of the space-time door. This soul who keeps the entire world turning just by standing perfectly still.
She exists, as one source so beautifully puts it, at the edge of all things.
Wow.
And that position, it grants her this ultimate, almost terrifying power. But the cost is absolute perpetual solitude.
We're going to unpack her connections to mythical figures like Hades and Kronos. We'll delve into the huge philosophical burden of the 3 sacred taboos that define her entire life and reveal how her greatest act of humanity came from breaking the one law that guaranteed.
It's quite a story.
So let's just dive in. When you look at her role, her place in this cosmic architecture, what makes her position so immediately unique and just so isolating?
I think what stands out immediately is that she's fundamentally defined as a sentinel of transcend. She is the guardian of the space-time door.
Right.
And she's alone, standing at the edge of eternity, literally a shadow positioned between all these possible worlds. And unlike the other guardians who are fighting very visible, tangible battles.
Yeah, on Earth, in the solar system.
Exactly. Her duty is metaphysical. It demands this perfect, uncompromising stillness.
And the sources really, really emphasize that stillness. It's not just that she's a guard, commands stillness while, like you said, everyone else is fighting with flame and thunder.
It's a complete inversion of the warrior ideal, isn't it?
Totally.
And her unique position means she's not really anchored in the past or even looking toward the future. She lives in that sacred space in between.
The linchpin.
She is the linchpin. She's often unseen. Sometimes she's even forgotten. But she is absolutely crucial. She's guarding a gate that, few people ever witness, let alone know exists.
So her life is this constant tension between having immense power and being forced into past.
Yes, she's duty-bound, of course, but she's also this figure of profound heartbreak. She's always just one step removed from the very world she's protecting.
If her whole purpose is defined by eternity and stillness, it makes the analysis of her human name, Setsuna Meioh, just so compelling. Let's really get into that. The idea of her name as destiny.
This is a perfect example of the creator just layering meaning into the character. Her civilian name, Setsuna, it translates directly to moment or instant.
Okay, wait. The guardian of eternity is named Moment.
Exactly.
That feels like the ultimate cosmic irony, doesn't it? It's not just a cute little contrast. That immediately sets up the central tragedy of her entire life.
It does. And the sources we have, they really explore the immense psychological pressure this must put on her. While she's overseeing this vast, unbroken flow of time, her own presence in the lives of anyone else is, by definition, fleeting.
Yeah.
It's just a brief instant of connection before she has to retreat back to her post.
So her name symbolizes her ephemeral happiness and quiet longing. Every real connection she makes is designed to be temporary.
It's an agonizing awareness she has to carry, this deep longing to belong, while her very name is a reminder of the transience that defines. It's like this cruel, self-fulfilling prophecy.
What does that do to a soul? Really?
It forces her entire identity into this state of just, disciplined surrender. She has a wisdom of ages, but she understands that every touch, every word, every friendship she finds is just a Setsuna moment before she goes back to the quiet vast.
Which means she can never truly invest in a normal, time-bound relationship.
Never. Her connection to the human world is always tempered by design.
Which leads us right to the core of her being. Solitude is purpose. It's not just that she's alone, her very function requires.
Right. And the solitude, it's not presented in the material as a punishment. It's a sacred purpose. Her being there, alone at that door, is the necessary function to hold the entire timeline together.
So if she weren't there, if she got distracted by a normal life,
the consequences would be catastrophic for the entire universe. She has to surrender her right to ordinary joys, to companionship, because her vigilance is the only thing stopping the timeline from just unraveling.
That's an incredible sacrifice. And it's all unseen.
That's the foundation of her strength. The sources say her silence and solitude contain this hidden wisdom, ancient, patient. It's the wisdom that comes from observation, from seeing the totality of cause and effect.
So she knows that jumping in, even with good intentions, could cause a much bigger collapse down the line.
Exactly. She's the definition of discipline. She's the anchor that must not move. She's the lone soldier that no one knows about. But without her, the whole universe just falls apart.
And this constant state of restraint over action, silence over voice, this is what launches us right into the deep mythological roots that give her character credible.
It really is.
This is where our deep dive starts to get really fast. I mean, the writers were clearly building this character on something much deeper than just sci-fi. Let's start with the clearest connect, the Threshold Guardian arc, her link to Pluto and Hades.
This is the absolute foundation of her symbolic power. The character, she draws her essence directly from the Roman god Pluto or Hades, Greek mythology, the lord of the underworld, the ruler of unseen realms.
Right. She's fundamentally a psychopomp figure. She governs a threshold.
She does, but her threshold isn't the underworld in that traditional sense. It's the transition point of time itself. She's guarding the past, the present, and the future.
So she governs fate, ending, transition.
Exactly. And the crucial parallel here is the idea of inevitability. Hades and Pluto, they represent the final destination, the end you can't escape. Sailor Pluto represents the inescapable flow of time that leads to all of those endings.
So her stillness, her composure, that mirrors the solemn, inevitable nature of mortality and change.
It does. The sources make a strong case that she doesn't just control time as a superpower. She is the embodiment of time unshaken, inevitable, and often misunderstood because she operates on this metaphysical plane that mortals can't really access.
She's a modern spin on those lonely threshold guardians.
Completely. Think of Charon, the ferryman who needs payment to cross the river, or Kerberos, the three-headed watchdog. These figures are bound by an absolute duty to the borders between realms, and Sailor Pluto's strength is in her immovable stance, guarding against anyone who would try to destabilize the delicate fabric of history. She's the enforcer for the cosmic border patrol.
But her weapon isn't a sword, it's patience and silence.
Exactly.
And that idea of enforcing a border naturally connects her to time itself. So let's move to her resonance with Kronos.
Absolutely. Symbolically, she reflects Kronos, the Greek personification of time. And I mean Kronos, the governing, sometimes merciless force, not Kronos, the linear movement.
And this connection is made explicit, right, in her attack.
It is. The attack named Kronos Typhoon is the most direct, but the most significant connection, of course, is her ability to stop time itself, a power that she is absolutely forbidden from ever using.
So that creates this deep internal conflict.
Oh, massive. She is both the governor of time, she holds the ultimate stop button, and she's a victim of its flow, because she's bound by the restrictions that flow imposes on her.
She has this incredible cosmic power, but it's always tempered by the fact that if she uses it, she dies.
It's the perfect embodiment of the necessary cruelty of time. It moves forward, always forward, regardless of the individual cost. And she's the one who has to uphold that rule, even when it breaks her heart.
So she's this soul who's just suspended at the crossroads of fate, always having to mediate between the flow of existence and the absolute command of cosmic law. Her power isn't just a superpower, it's a representation of those invisible, heavy forces that govern all life.
And what's really fascinating is how these mythologies converge. She combines the isolation and the inevitable judgment of Hades with the relentless, consuming nature of Kronos. She's the silent, wise voice that's always saying, you cannot escape what is coming, and I am the one who has to make sure it arrives.
Wow. That solemnity, it sets the stage perfectly for the planetary symbolism. The character is grounded in actual astronomy, even though she operates on this metaphorical level. Let's talk about the theme of transformation and renewal that's inherent in the planet.
Right. In astrology and mythology, the planet Pluto governs these cycles of life, death, transformation, rebirth. And this directly mirrors Sailor Pluto's own story.
Her entire arc culminates in that pivotal sacrificial death after she breaks the ultimate taboo, and then her eventual reincarnation.
Exactly. Her story is the essence of letting go. She surrenders to the inevitable consequences of her choices, and she emerges renewed with greater depth and wisdom. It's not just a factory reset.
And then there's the symbolism of distance and gravity.
Yes. The planet Pluto, it dwells in the farthest hidden parts of the solar system. For a long time, it was an anomaly, a dwarf planet. And Sailor Pluto, she stands at the very edge of time and space, hidden from the main flow of events.
So she's quiet, composed, rarely showing her full power.
But the analysis we have points out that her actions, even though they're few and far between, they have immense gravitational influence. When she intervenes, it can alter fate, defy time, and reshape the entire narrative.
It's the metaphor of the quiet observer. Strength doesn't always have to shout.
It can whisper and still move the distant stars. And on top of that, the planet's incredibly slow, distant orbit. It takes 248 Earth years to circle the sun. That reflects her own ageless nature. She's wise beyond years, eternally patient, just drifting at the outer rim, observing history rather than participating in the fleeting moments that define our life.
This solitude, this cosmic perspective, it leads us perfectly into the next section, which is the paradox power, this immense strength that is rooted in the philosophical burden of those three sacred laws that define higher.
Her powers are so unique because they aren't really for offense or defense. They're for maintaining cosmic infrastructure. They transcend the physical. They're rooted in these ancient forces that govern the flow of existence.
So they're about consequence and hidden strength, not spectacle.
Exactly. Not spectacle at all.
And nothing shows this better than her signature attack, Dead Scream. Why is it whispered? What does that stillness in the delivery imply?
The whisper is crucial. She doesn't scream it in aggression. She utters this quiet command that releases a dark sphere of consequential energy from her garnet rod. The research describes it as death cloaked in silence, a cosmic echo.
The stillness reflects the fact that time and fate don't need to raise their voice. They just are.
The dead scream represents consequence and finality, and it's delivered with solemnity, never with rage.
That goes right back to the Hades and Pluto connection, the inevitability of the boundarer. But beyond that attack, what are the specific mechanics of her job as cosmic gatekeepers?
Her real strength is as a manipulator of dimensional and time-space energy. She can teleport across vast temporal distances, and most importantly, she is constantly sensing disruptions in the timeline.
Imagine carrying that burden. Every time someone messes with history, she feels that ripple across the entire universe.
Like a seismograph detecting an earthquake.
Yeah.
And she has the rare ability to open or seal those interdimensional gateways, which just affirms her role as the cosmic boundary keeper. Her job is maintenance and balance.
So she ensures the integrity of the universe by governing access.
That's her strength. It's in her ability to keep others out of the wrong time, to make sure that paradox doesn't destroy reality.
And all of this authority is symbolized and channeled through her garnet rod. This is way more than just a fancy staff. Right.
Oh, it's a talisman of immense ancient power, topped with the garnet orb. Its significance is triple layered. First, it's a focus for her power. Second, it's a symbol of her authority over the realm of time. And third, it's one of the three sacred talismans.
Okay, detail that third point for us, because the connection to the other outer senshi talismans is absolutely critical.
Right. The garnet rod, alongside Neptune's deep aqua mirror and Uranus's space sword, those three are required to summon Sailor Saturn.
The harbinger of destruction and rebirth.
The ultimate reset button. So, in effect, the garnet rod symbolizes authority over ending. It gives her the ability to either trigger or prevent a complete reset of civilization. It confirms she's not just a guard, she's a critical figure in the cosmic cycle of renewal and finality.
We've established the weight of her power. Now we have to face the true philosophical center of her, the three sacred taboos. These laws, given to her by Queen Serenity, are the existential bound form, this invisible cage for her soul.
Breaking them risks catastrophe for time. These laws represent the deepest conflict in her entire existence, the eternal order versus fleeting humanity. They aren't just arbitrary rules, they're cosmological constraints that are necessary for stability.
So let's start with taboo number 1. Never use her powers to move through time. This has to be the source of just unending psychological pain.
It's the burden of perfect, agonizing observation. She can open the door for other people, but she is forbidden from stepping into the flow of time herself.
And the sources debate the moral cost. She's forced to witness the suffering of people she loves, the deaths of her friends, all while standing perfectly still and being forbidden from intervening.
It's a devastating distinction, is being forbidden to intervene versus being required to observe suffering.
It's moral paralysis by design.
It is. Imagine knowing exactly how a tragedy could be averted, knowing the date, the time, the mechanism of a friend's death, possessing the power to stop it, but being mandated by law to just wait and watch it happen.
She has to choose duty over intervention, and it breaks her heart again and again, across millennia. That's silent martyrdom.
It is. Then we have taboo number 2. Never leave her post at the space-time door. This is the ultimate commandment of loneliness.
This is the law that guarantees her solitude.
She has to remain the sentinel of all ages, making sure time flows undisturbed and that no one gets in who shouldn't. It requires the complete surrender of self-determination. By guarding time, she is forgotten by. By protecting others, she's separated.
It's a necessary separation, but it removes her from any chance of finding ordinary human solace. She can't have a life, a family, or just simple companionship because her absence, even for a second, could invite cosmic chaos.
And the philosophical debate here is all about to stand vigil for centuries, willingly surrendering your right to a linear life. It's presented as the highest form of self-discipline.
It's a huge contrast to the fiery passion and immediate action of the inner center.
It is. Her strength isn't measured by how hard she fights, but by how long she can stand.
And finally, the ultimate taboo number 3. Never stop time, This is the fatal sacred.
This is the big one, the ultimate red line. To halt the flow of existence is to fundamentally violate the natural order, to defy the rhythm of the universe. And the consequence isn't punishment or prison, it's instant, complete death.
Her power to stop time is intrinsically linked to her own mortality.
Yes, it establishes these irreversible stakes for her entire existence. She cannot use her strongest ability without choosing suicide.
And yet, the sources tell us she does break it.
She does. And that is why her character transcends cosmic law. She breaks the most unbreakable, irreversible law because her newfound fierce love for another soul ultimately outweighs her eternal obedience to command. And that choice is what leads us to our next act, the highest form of love.
We're moving now from cosmic philosophy to this deeply personal emotion. Let's explore the non-traditional nature of her bonds, these silent affections that ultimately lead her to choose humanity over God. And we have to start with her silent devotion.
Her romantic life is defined entirely by restraint. It's unfulfilled, it's quietly cherished, and it's deeply respectful of boundaries. Her affection for King Endymion, the future Mamoru, is the only explicitly romantic feeling she ever really displayed.
And to a woman who lives in silence and isolation, Endymion represents stability, presence, warmth, everything she's denied. Partnership, family, a normal human life. That distance, ironically, is what makes her love for him so incredibly pure.
It is. And the sources analyze this as a profoundly mature form of love. She never, ever disrupts the sacred bond between Serenity and Endymion. There's no jealousy. She simply loves him silently, loyally, and eternally, acting as his steadfast, hidden protector.
It mirrors that real-life emotional experience of admiring someone from afar. The love itself becomes a source of quiet strength. It softens the ache of solitude without ever needing to be acted upon.
Exactly. It's a perfect example of her restraint translating even into her emotional life. She sacrifices her own romantic fulfillment for the stability of the future kingdom she guards.
But that restraint, it starts to crack with her second major bond, the maternal connection she forms with Chibiusa, or Smalley.
This relationship is the catalyst for her humanity. It transcends time, age, and duty. Up to this point, Pluto was defined entirely by her obedience. But then Chibiusa arrives, this fearless, innocent child who is way too young to understand the terrifying rules of the space-time door.
And in that innocence, Chibiusa does something revolutionary. She approaches this silent, imposing, eternal figure, and she names her Pooh.
That nickname is monumental. It strips away the title of Guardian of the Space-Time Door, and it gives her personhood. Chibiusa sees the woman behind the sentinel, the kind soul behind the cold law. This is the first significant crack in the wall of her solitude that she allowed.
For the very first time, someone needs her not for what she guards, but for who she's kind and patient and warm.
Right. And in this bond, Pluto finds a human connection that's unburdened by taboo. Her protectiveness stops being an obligation, and it becomes this sacred, fiercely held choice. It's a deep, transformative love.
It's more than maternal.
It is. It's the love of a protector who finds meaning beyond just abstract duty. She chooses to guard the future of this specific child, rather than the abstract concept of the timeline. This relationship gives her a tangible reason to feel, something solid to ground her soul in the immense emptiness of eternity.
It is through Chibiusa that Sailor Pluto's human heart truly blooms.
It is.
And this blooming humanity leads directly and so dramatically to the ultimate act of humanity, the fatal breaking of taboo number 3.
The setup is crucial. The world is under this existential threat, and Chibiusa is in immediate, irreversible danger. So Pluto is faced with the ultimate moral dilemma, cosmic duty, or this immediate personal love.
And she chooses love over law.
She stopped time, instantly breaking the third and most fatal taboo, knowing precisely what it will cost her.
This decision is one of the most powerful narrative moments in the sources. The analysis we have, it stresses that this is not a failure of her, it is the fulfillment of her deepest self.
She dies not as a function of duty, but as a woman who chose compassion over command.
And her death is framed not as a tragedy from a mistake, but as an act of transcendent, pure love.
It is. She used her ultimate forbidden power to save the only person who had ever really seen her as a person. She sacrificed her eternal existence for one fleeting life.
It's her ultimate statement. You gave me a reason to feel. I give you a chance to live. She transcended her role as a cosmic guardian to become human. She proved that breaking the most sacred rules is sometimes the highest form of devotion.
Even time, and all its merciless flow and inevitability, sometimes has to bend in the face of self. And that sacrifices the turning. It grants her soul the freedom it needs to integrate back into the flow of time, and it sets the stage for her return as Setsuna Meioh.
That profound sacrifice fundamentally changes her state of being. It allows her soul to come back. So let's move to that transition to her civilian identity. Who is Setsuna Meioh in the human?
Setsuna Meioh is the human side of Sailor Pluto's soul. She's this quiet, elegant and enigmatic figure who represents a glimpse into the life she might have had if fate hadn't constrained her as the eternal guardian.
So we get this human glimpse. She's mature, she's independent, and in various media, she's often a serious university student, right? Specializing in fields that still touch on her cosmic.
That's a key detail. She often studies things like physics or chemistry or medicine disciplines that deal with fundamental natural laws and the flow of organic processes. It's a subconscious carryover from her life spent guarding cosmic laws.
And she has this innate affinity for sophisticated fashion, refined taste. She keeps that calm, composed demeanor even while enjoying simple things like...
She's no longer just a symbol or an ancient law. She has just enough humanity to hint at the deep emotional depth beneath her surface, the lingering shadow of all those centuries.
And living as Setsuna, this allows for healing and belonging. She's no longer chained to the space-time door, and she finally learns to exist her, not a cause.
It's her opportunity to find companionship and family, especially with the other outer senshi, Uranus, Neptune, and eventually the reincarnated Sailor Saturn.
And crucially, in the manga and in Sailor Moon Crystal, she takes on this nurturing, almost maternal role towards Hotaru, Sailor Saturn.
That's a profound choice. She is safeguarding a young child who is tied to destruction and rebirth. This role lets her transform that intense personal protectiveness she felt for Chibiusa into a permanent, healing part of her human existence.
This nurturing, it's in such sharp contrast to her old life of solitary vigil. She's now actively participating in life, helping to raise a child, instead of passively observing worlds from a distance.
She's finally healing that inner loneliness.
But, as the sources point out, she still carries the weight she paid for. Even as Setsuna, there's always a trace aura of this profound, unshaken...
She carries the subconscious, centuries-long memory of solitude, the quiet truth of her unspoken love for King Endymion, and the echo of that moment she paid for stopping time with her own life.
And that underlying profound knowledge makes her a grounding and powerful presence among the other guardians. When the others are panicking over some fleeting conflict, her perspective is always tempered by...
Exact. When she speaks, it matters. When she chooses to act, it changes everything because everyone around her knows the immense cost she's already paid just to be present.
She proves that even eternal beings long for simple things. Soft clothes, tea, quiet moment, and holding someone close without the agonizing fear of time tearing.
Through Setsuna, we see that beneath the silence and the law, there is always a human heart just waiting to be understood, anchored to the world through simple, chosen connection. Her final transcendence is realizing that true strength doesn't require constant combat. It requires the wisdom to know when to enforce the law and when to break it for the sake of compassion.
We've taken a truly deep dive into the paradox. We've explored how she endured not by shining the brightest, by standing still while the universe just spun wildly around. Her silence was safe. Her stillness taught us that loyalty...
And that the deepest, most enduring connections are felt like a warm pulse just beneath the surface of fate.
Yeah, she taught us that time is not only what we race against, but what we carry, and sometimes what we have to give up entirely. Love.
She is the pause that grants the moment meaning, the stillness that defines.
In one fleeting, powerful heartbeat of sacrifice, she transcended her role as a mere guardian to become fully human, transforming cosmic law into a legend of... But building on that idea, that her immense power came from restraint, her greatest act was self-sacrifice, let's leave you with this provocative thought.
If Sailor Pluto represents the inevitability of change and ending, the boundary lines of our existence, what essential truth about life's necessary limits do we risk forgetting when we try to rush past the inevitable, rather than meeting it with grace, with stillness, and with patient wisdom, as she ultimately learned to do?
Something to mull over as you move forward into your own timeline. Thank you for taking this deep dive with us. We'll see you at the next threshold.